I came across an old email that reminded me of a time that I was as inspired as I've ever been. I was creating with people that lit my soul on fire. And it posed the question, what's your experimentation budget? What does that mean? We live in this time where we want to try new things, but we also want to be safe. It's a volatile time to be a human right now, and there's a lot of considerations we got to have, and we have to plan for the future, but live in the now. And we want to do new things like try a new meal or speak a different language, or I've always wanted to change my oil on my car myself. There's so many things in front of us that we want to do, and oftentimes we don't for a million good reasons. So the question in this episode of Keep It 100, number 55, what's your experimentation budget? One way to figure out what that budget is and how far you want to push and how far you want to try things and where you want to be is to have an intention. Set an intentional life, set an intentional moment. As I create this video, there was an intention. And really what it was to read this email that came from one of the most creative people on the planet, one of the kindest people on the planet, who a million years ago I had the honor of bringing on board to the Cleveland Cavaliers as we started this new production group, QTV, experimenting, trying new things, creating like crazy. I'm talking about my man, Nate Chojnacki, who is absolutely a savant in the creative space. He's done work for Super Bowls. He's done work for the March Madness events. He's done work for Olympics. He's been a part of some of the coolest esports events ever, to name a few. But all in all, this boy from Akron, just a kid from Akron, is one of the most creative people I've ever been around. And this was him as an early 20-year-old writing a note to me about our creative group and about experimenting and about being inspired. I would like to see more people in QTV, that was our group, thinking like interns or college students again. By this, I mean being inspired, trying something new, or doing it in a new way. Zronik, he was our intern at the time, does this all the time. And lately, instead of correcting him, I ask him why. His thought process, having not been around here in Cleveland as long as the rest of us, while sometimes he's incorrect, it's always interesting to hear. When we get old, we get set in our ways. When we're young, we don't have our ways yet. So we'll do crazy stuff because we're struggling to find our own style. I look at young people making videos, animations, even music, and I think, wow, how do you even think of something as original as that? I have to take a step back and remind myself that they aren't doing it because they're revolutionary. They're doing it because they don't give an F. Free experimentation. We lose a lot of time to experiment, get better, and because everything we do, this was back in the day in Cleveland, but it applies to life, it always has a deadline. We're forced to stick with what we know and what is safe. The problem is, you can't set time aside to say, I'm going to be creative for 3 hours today. I'm going to experiment for 3 hours today. It doesn't work like that. When inspiration hits, it's on a deeply personal level. And no boss or leader can ever say, take the day off and go get inspired. Or tell me something that inspired you this weekend. They can ask those questions, but does it hit? Inspiration is up to the individual. You can't force it. They have to want it for themselves. Last week, I walked into the suburbs. That's what we called our editing bays back in the day. 2 or 3 times throughout the course of the week, and I saw AJ, amazing control room video director for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who's done multiple NBA All-Star games and been super lucky to be on his path with him as well. This is AJ doing tutorials 20 years ago, working on a single animation, masking things out, blowing up houses in the video world, using Particle World. I've never even tried to use Particle World, and I damn near cried when I saw what he made. Obviously, we can't always spend a week making one animation, but whatever got him inspired to do that should be felt by everyone in QTV. And I would say maybe felt by everyone in the creative space or anyone who is a human. Let's try to budget for experimentation with intention, and let's enjoy the dance, and let's create happy. My man, Nathan Chojnacki, thank you for doing that. Thank you for having done that. And thankful for you being who you are. I love you. Keep creating happy, my man.